Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Welcome to another episode of my comic book movie retro reviews. Yep, I've got another one for you. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Okay, so Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Okay, this is actually a TV movie. Starring David Hasselhoff in the title role of Nick Fury. Now, I know what you're thinking. Nick Fury is Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson is black. This Nick Fury is white. What's going on? For those of you who are not in the know. Okay, Nick Fury of the Howling Commandos in the comics, he was conceived as a white guy, a white character, Colonel Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D. And what happened is, in the early 2000s, Marvel published a new series of comics called the Ultimate line of comics. So Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Fantastic Four, Ultimate Avengers, this sort of a thing. Now, when they done these comics, they changed Nick Fury, they turned him into a black guy. And they actually modelled him on Samuel Jackson. In the comics, he very much did look like Samuel Jackson, like they took him as their model for the character. Now, I could go into all the issues of race swapping and this sort of thing, but it wasn't an issue with this character in this sense, and it worked out wonderfully. You know, the Nick Fury that they created in the Ultimate Universe was a fantastic character, so much so that they utilised that character in the MCU movies with Samuel Jackson, and that's something that I wouldn't change. This character was subsequently brought over to the main Marvel Universe timeline, the main, 616 as they call it, universe, where you had two versions of Nick Fury, the white Nick Fury and the black Nick Fury. So, great stuff. But yeah, so a really good character in his own right. Now, I know what you're thinking as well. Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We had a Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series that lasted 7 years, starring Clark Gregg as Phil Coulson. Yep. So what happened was, in 1998, and that is when this film is from, there was an attempt to get a Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series off the ground. And like what they did back then, they filmed a pilot. Pilot would go to air, they would see how well the pilot done, and then decide whether they're going to continue it to series or not. Unfortunately, this didn't make it to series, so it is literally just a standalone 90-minute movie. Now, interestingly, on the back of the box, it actually has a runtime of, if you can see it, I don't know if you can see that. Says runtime of 1 hour and 20 minutes. It's not. It's 90 minutes, right? So I looked at that. I thought, that's not right. It would have been 2 hours on TV because of advert breaks. But any pilot is 90 minutes in length. Hence, this was 90 minutes. Now, this film was directed by a fella named Rod Hardy, who has done a lot of directing in TV. He's directed The X-Files, Joss Whedon's programme Dollhouse. He's directed Supernatural, the TV series Jag, as well as a wealth of other stuff. But the interesting thing about this particular film is that it was actually written by David S. Goyer. Now, that name might seem familiar to you. And if you're wondering why, yes, he was the writer of Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, the Dark Knight trilogy, Blade trilogy, as well as a wealth of other films and TV that you would know. I mean, you look him up on IMDb and you'll be like, blimey, look at the stuff that this guy has written. So this was written by him. So brilliant stuff. So obviously, like I've already said, this film stars David Hasselhoff in the title role of Colonel Nick Fury. Lisa Rinna stars as Contessa Valentina dell'Allegro Fontaine. We'll just stick for Val from now on. Sandra Hess stars as the film's villain as Andrea von Strucker, Lady Viper. And there's a wealth of other characters within the film as well. Gary Chalk stars in it as Dugan. Now, Dugan is a character from the comic books who, I don't know if you know, he's called Dum Dum Dugan. They don't go with Dum Dum in this, you know. So this film, it finds Nick Fury, he's exiled himself to the Yukon. He's no longer a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. But after some events at the start of the film, S.H.I.E.L.D. come find him because they want to bring him back into the fold because there's this terrorist, Hydra's has reared its ugly head again, and terrorist activity and all sort of things, so they need his help. So they bring him back into the fold, and he's got a team of people with him when he goes back into S.H.I.E.L.D., including Val, this other character named Alexander Pierce, name you might recognise, another woman who's got some sort of mind control power, not mind control powers, but she can read thoughts and she can read, you know, feelings and this sort of a thing. So you're setting it up for a TV show. You've got someone who's a doctor, you got his Nick Fury's boss, you got the geezer who now runs S.H.I.E.L.D., who's like one of these sort of you know, political type of people, difficult people you've got to deal with, you know, who's all into the politics of it, who doesn't see eye to eye with Nick Fury and that sort of stuff. So it's really setting up a character base for TV. Now, the primary story is about Lady Viper. She finds her father, she gets her father back, Baron von Strucker, and they set about with this dastardly plan. They've got this disease that they're going to release onto New York City and kill millions of people. Well, actually onto the island of Manhattan. They're going to wipe out millions of people. Nick Fury himself gets kissed at one point by Lady Viper, and it's a kiss of death, so it's slowly poisoning him and killing him. So he's got to get her DNA to defeat this poison that's coursing its way through his veins and all this sort of nonsense going on within the film. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. So let's talk about, you know, my thoughts on the film itself. Now, like I've said, and if you've been watching this, I'm very, very biased towards this type of a film, right? Because I came from an era where this was it. We didn't get what you're getting today. We didn't have the MCU. We didn't have the DCEU. Comic book films were not taken seriously. Okay, you had Superman, you had Batman, the first ones, but you know they went into camp territory later. Comic book movies weren't a thing that done really well until the early 2000s. But saying that, I'm very surprised that this is 1998. It feels older. It feels a lot older than 1998 when you watch it. Now, my knowledge of Nick Fury as a character, I've never read a Nick Fury-centric comic book. Even though I've collected comic books from the age of about 12, I know of Nick Fury from him being in other comic books when he's guest starred and this sort of thing. I've never read Nick Fury in the Howling Commandos or anything like that. I have read the Nick Fury Max series, which was a mini-series, but beyond that, you know, I only know him through guest appearances. But there's enough of him that I know who he is, I know who S.H.I.E.L.D. is, and this sort of thing. So this film, it's like I said, it's a TV film, so it is in that format. It is in that square old TV format that you used to get. It's not widescreen or anything like that. The film is cheap, right? And it's got some terrible, terrible acting in it. Sandra Hess, her acting, now I know her from other stuff, but her acting in this is she's just chewing the scenery. She's just so, you know, she's delivering her lines just like so panto-like, it's like panto villain. It's horrid. David Hasselhoff, right, actually is a good fit for the character of Nick Fury. And, you know, whatever you say about David Hasselhoff, I know you think of him, oh, David Hasselhoff, but come on, David Hasselhoff was great in Knight Rider, he was good in Baywatch, right, and he's just as good in this. He fits the role of Nick Fury. He's tall, he's big, he's imposing, towers around the people around him, and he looks like Nick Fury. You know, I can't deny that. The world that this inhabits, yes, you have helicarriers, you have S.H.I.E.L.D. you know, the names in this you'd recognise from the MCU. Armin Zola is mentioned, you know, von Strucker, who you know. You know, there's a wealth of stuff in this that you would watch and you'd go, oh yeah, I know that name. I know that from this MCU film and that sort of thing. It is set in the world of Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. And it gives you all of that stuff. The effects in it are not very good. You know, the helicarrier and this sort of a thing, but they do the best with what they've got. It's directed competently enough. Some of the fight scenes are not very good, obviously, you know, but some of the gunplay again is pretty good in it. There are some stuff there is some stuff of worth within this film. Now, the biggest praise that I can give to this film is that it's not boring. It's, you know, I haven't watched this in a couple of decades, right? So I thought, oh, you know what, I'm going to revisit. I'm going to put it on tomorrow, you know, tonight or last night when I watched it, which is going to be weeks away. But anyway, weeks ago. Anyway, so it's not boring. You know, I watched this film and I thought, do you know what? It is such a shame that this didn't go to series. You know, you've got a fantastic cast that could have worked well together, likeable characters, a silly over-the-top villain. You know, there was enough for this film to have gone to series, for it to have been worthwhile. Okay, I know, like, David S. Goyer, this is before he's moved into film and this sort of a thing, or these big superhero films to come, but he knows his stuff. He knows the world that he's writing for. He knows the character. He knows how to deliver and write a superhero thing. Now, on first viewing, you'd think, Christ, this looks terrible, this looks bad. But in all honesty, it's not. It's not. It's actually a whole lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but it is bad. But bad fun, if that makes sense. It's filmed poorly. The effects are poor. Some of the acting is poor. Some of the acting is very poor. You know, I can't stress that enough. But David Hasselhoff is a standout. Lisa Rinna as Contessa Valentina de Allegro Fontaine, or Val. She's very good in the film. It's got an interesting diverse cast of people to keep you watching. And like I said, the 90 minutes just go by. And, you know, this is the 5th film that I've watched in me doing this series of stuff, of revisiting these films that came before the MCU and the DCU. And I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm actually really enjoying revisiting some of these films. Yes, it's from a different era. Yes, they're cheaper and they're not, you know, they haven't got the finesse that you get now in superhero stuff. But nonetheless, it's very, very enjoyable. And this, I thoroughly enjoyed. But could I recommend it to you? Probably not. You know, you've got to know that watching this, you are going into a film that is cheap, that is crass, right? You know, David Hasselhoff, for Christ's sake. But it's a whole lot of fun. It is a whole lot of fun. That's all I can say about it. So anyway, let's get into a little bit of trivia regarding this film. Now, David Hasselhoff, he actually didn't want to play this character with an eye patch. In fact, he insisted against it. He wanted the character to have his 2 eyes. The eye patch is a signature part of Nick Fury, as we know. But what happened is, when they started filming, David Hasselhoff actually had a bad case of red eye in his left eye, and thusly the eye patch came about. Luckily so, because Nick Fury isn't Nick Fury without the eye patch. Yep. Now, this isn't the first time David Hasselhoff and Sandra Hess has shared the screen. They both starred together in an episode of Baywatch before this was done. There was a Nick Fury there was a Nick Fury movie in the works in about 94, 95 by Sony Pictures. They wanted to bring Nick Fury to the big screen, but it never came to pass, leading the way for it to eventually go to TV with this movie. So yeah, there's just a few free little trivia bits about this movie. So yeah, so that's it. That's me done with this one. So yeah, you know, I can slag it off for its production values, for its acting, but you've got to remember this is a TV movie. But it gets Nick Fury right, it gets the world of S.H.I.E.L.D. right, and it doesn't bore. You know, That's what I can say about it. Anyway, so that's it. Me done for this one. If you like that, please consider hitting the subscribe button. You know where it is. It's down below. Go and press it. Leave me a comment also. I do reply to all comments. Have you seen this? Have you seen this recently? Do you remember it? Are you a fan of it? Are you a hater of it? Come and let me know. Have a friendly conversation. We'll talk about it. Also, why not hit the notification bell, which will keep you apprised of all of my upcoming content, because there will be another one of these videos coming up in 2 to 3 weeks where I look at something else. And if there's a superhero movie that you would like me to take a look at, give you my thoughts on, number one, I probably will get to it anyway at some point, because I'm not just looking at Marvel, DC, I'm looking at everything outside of that as well. But if there's one that you would like me to maybe raise up my diary of watch lists, then let me know. Drop me a comment and I'll see what I can do about getting it up quicker than what I would have originally had it planned. Not that I actually have any planned, I'm just doing them ad hoc, as in, oh, fancy watching this one, I'll do that one. But no, if you've got one that you'd like me to take a look at, let me know. Anyway, this is AJ. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care all, and goodbye.